December 4th, 2024, 6:44 a.m. Manhattan. A man in a khaki mask and hoodie walks down 6th Avenue. He bought water and a protein bar in advance. He knows where his target will be. He knows the exact time. He's been waiting for over a month. Brian Thompson, 50, CEO of the largest private insurance company in the United States, leaves the Hilton Midtown hotel. He's on his way to the annual United Health Group Investor Conference. Alone, without security. His family reported receiving threats, but no one is around. The shooter approaches from behind. The pistol is 3D printed. The silencer is also 3D printed. The weapon is untraceable, a so-called ghost gun, with no serial number listed in any database. 2 shots are fired. The Thompson falls. The shooter turns, gets on his bike, and rides off to Central Park. Everything is captured on camera. 3 words are etched into the shell casings left on the sidewalk: deny, defend, devalue. These aren't random words. These 3 tactics, delay, deny, depose, are described in American legal literature as the standard behavioral model for insurance companies when denying claims. The police arrive. Thompson is taken to the hospital. He dies. The New York City police are issuing a nationwide manhunt. The reward is $10,000, and the FBI is adding another $50,000. Security photos show a man in a mask, tall, athletic, confident in his movements. And one more photo, from the hostel where he stayed a few days before the murder. It's the same man, without his mask. He looks at the girl at the reception and smiles broadly. The smile is open, friendly. Investigators show this photo on the news. The mask has come off. On the morning of the 5th day after the murder, at a McDonald's in the small town of Altoona, Pennsylvania, an employee notices a customer. Something about his face is familiar. He picks up his phone, opens the news, looks at the photo from the hostel, looks back at the customer, calls the police. When the officers approached the table and asked if he had recently been to New York, the man's fingers began to tremble. He didn't answer directly. They asked him to remove his mask. He did. The officers immediately recognized him. His name is Luigi Nicholas Mangione. He's 26 years old. He's a native of Baltimore. His family owns dozens of properties and country clubs in Maryland. He attended Gilman School, an elite private all-male school, and was its valedictorian. Then he attended the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League institution. He earned a bachelor's and master's degree in 4 years, specializing in computer science. He graduated with honors in 2020. I worked as a data engineer at a tech company in San Francisco. Good salary, good career. At the beginning of 2023, I quit. I wrote to a friend, "Data engineering paid well, but it was mind-numbingly boring. I wanted more time for reading and yoga." He moved to Hawaii. He lived in a co-living community, a shared home for digital nomads. He practiced yoga. He read. He was described as thoughtful, open, and friendly. The owner of the yoga studio where he practiced said he had a back problem, and he worked hard on it. Mangione suffered from spondylolisthesis, a slipped vertebra, severe pain, surgery, a long recovery. He posted an X-ray of his spine with metal screws on his social media account. One of his former co-living neighbors told reporters, Mangione was a leader in their small community. Smart, considerate, never talked about violence, never about guns. The neighbor said, "That's absolutely unthinkable to me." There's a long gap between Hawaii and the murder. What exactly happened in that time frame isn't entirely clear. What is known is that in November 2024, Mangione arrived in New York City on a bus from Atlanta. He checked into a Manhattan hostel under a fake name and a fake New Jersey ID. He spent several days in the city studying routes. He visited the Starbucks where his fingerprints were later found. He was waiting for the announcement of the annual United Health Group conference. When Thompson arrived in New York, he was ready. Upon his arrest, he was found in possession of several $1,000s in cash, a fake New Jersey ID, the same name he used to register at a Manhattan hostel, a backpack containing a 3D printed pistol, a silencer, and several 9mm rounds of ammunition, and 2 documents, a handwritten manifesto, and a notebook. FBI investigators later discovered that Mangione had subscribed to book reviews on Goodreads. One of the books was Industrial Society and Its Future by Ted Kaczynski, known as the Unabomber, a mathematician turned terrorist who spent 18 years killing people with parcel bombs. In his review, Mangione wrote that Kaczynski was rightfully imprisoned and critical of his use of violence, but he embraced his ideas about the dysfunctionality of technological corporate society. The manifesto is handwritten. It includes the phrase, "These parasites just got what they deserved. Sorry for any pain, but it had to be done." Separately, it reads, "I act alone," a notebook. It contains several entries. An entry from August 15, 2024. The details are finally coming together. The goal is insurance, because it ticks all the boxes. An entry from October 22nd, a month and a half before the murder. 1 whole 5 months. He'll be at a conference. Another entry describes the plan. You're taking out the CEO at the annual conclave of parasitic accountants. It's pinpoint, targeted, and doesn't risk innocent people. As officers escorted Mangione to the courthouse in Altoona, he broke free from guards and shouted at reporters, "This is a complete mockery of the intelligence of the American people." His lawyer will say later, he is not guilty. Now, about what happened on the internet. During the 5-day manhunt, a social media phenomenon no one expected began. Millions of posts, hundreds of thousands of comments. Most of them weren't about the victim. Most of them were about the system described by the 3 words on the bullet casings. People wrote their stories. A woman from Ohio. She was denied an MRI 3 times, then found to have a tumor. A man from Florida. His father, who has heart failure, was denied a pacemaker because it was deemed insufficient medical necessity. A doctor from Texas. He personally spends 4 hours a day on the phone seeking approval from insurance companies, yet has no time to treat patients. A mother from Illinois. Her diabetic child was denied an insulin pump. These are not rumors. These are real stories that emerged within the first 48 hours after the murder. The algorithm couldn't understand why a killer, wanted, with video footage of the crime and direct evidence, was getting such a reaction online. Because for the algorithm, it was about murder. For people, it was about something else. A December 2024 poll of 1,000 registered voters found that 53% considered Mangione a villain. 10% considered him a hero, but among Americans aged 18 to 29, the numbers were radically different. Among young people, the proportion who saw murder as a justifiable act or an understandable response was significantly higher. An Economist Southern poll found that 43% had an unfavorable view of Mangione, while 21% had a favorable view. Among young people, Mangione's support was higher than that of Thompson and United Healthcare combined. This wasn't a survey about murder. It was a survey about the system. What is United Healthcare? It's the largest private insurance company in the United States. It has over 70 million insured members and over $200 billion in annual revenue. United Health Group is the 5th largest company in the United States by market capitalization. It has more employees than Apple. Brian Thompson was born in Iowa. He graduated from the University of Iowa. He began his career at United Health Group in 2004. He spent 20 years at the same company, holding various positions. In April 2021, he became CEO of the insurance division. He was described as a calm, proactive, and hard-working person. Colleagues said he was approachable. He answered emails personally. He came to the office. He lived in Minnesota. He was the father of 2 sons. No one described him as a villain. He was a manager within the system. He ran the same system that existed before him and would continue to exist after him. But it was his name that was known as the face of the company. In 2023, United Healthcare denied 33% of all insurance claims. This is twice the industry average of 16%, the highest rate among major insurers in the country. This means this: if you're insured by a major U.S. insurance company and you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you you need a procedure or medication, you have a 1 in 3 chance of being denied, not because you filled out the paperwork incorrectly, but because the company decided so. But that's not the darkest detail. October 2024. 2 months before Thompson's murder, the U.S. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations publishes a report. The report's topic: How United Healthcare, Humana, and CVS use automated algorithms to guide claims decisions in the Medicare Advantage program, the insurance program for seniors. Specifically, it focuses on Navi Health's NH-Predict algorithm. The algorithm works like this. When an elderly person is admitted to a rehabilitation center or nursing home after a stroke or hip fracture, the algorithm calculates how many days of care they need, not the attending physician, not a medical examination. the algorithm, based on historical data from similar patients. And when the algorithm's predicted period ends, the company stops paying, even if the doctor says the patient isn't ready to be discharged yet. A Senate investigation found that between 2019 and 2022, the rate of denials of post-acute care increased from 8.7% to 22.7%. Denials of payment for care in skilled nursing facilities increased ninefold, from 1.4% to 12.6%. Senators cited specific cases. An elderly man after hip surgery. The treating physician recommends 3 weeks in a rehabilitation center. The algorithm approves 10 days. On the 11th day, the company stops paying. The patient either pays out of pocket, several $1,000s a day, or is discharged. Discharged untreated. Falls again, back to the hospital, repeated cycle. The senators wrote in their report that the companies systematically denied elderly patients coverage for care they were entitled to, not for medical reasons, but based on calculations by an algorithm trained on data from previous patients. Not from the specific individual in front of the doctor, but from a statistical model of similar cases. The report was published in October. The murder occurred in December. There is no connection between the events, but the timeline exists. December 9th, Mangione is arrested. December 23rd is his first hearing in New York. He pleads not guilty. In April 2025, federal prosecutors announced that, under President Trump's order, they will seek the death penalty in the federal case. Attorney General Pam Bondi says, Mangione's murder is a cold-blooded execution of an innocent father of two. It's true. Brian Thompson was the father of 2 sons. In January 2026, 2 federal charges against Mangione were dismissed by a judge. The case is ongoing. Mangione remains in custody. The trial is pending. And now, the final detail that almost no one noticed. In 2024, after the assassination, United Healthcare reduced its claim denial rate from 33% to 20%. It was the largest decline among major insurers in the country. The company, which had been criticized for years for its high denial rate, accomplished in a matter of months what it hadn't done in years. Regulatory pressure intensified. Congressmen began demanding reform. The company announced the expansion of its Gold Card program, which allows doctors with good track records to bypass the pre-approval process. The Senate report was released in October and met with silence. A murder occurred in December, and a few months later, the company changed its policy. Is there a direct connection? No. The company would say the changes were on track. Possibly. But polls say something different. According to the same December poll, the majority of Americans believe that insurance company denials and profits were the cause of the CEO's murder. Mangione wasn't the cause. The system was. This doesn't mean the murder was right. It's hard to find anyone in the public eye, other than Mangione himself, who would say that killing a specific person is a good way to change systems. Brian Thompson worked for the company. He didn't create it. He didn't invent the Navi Health algorithm. His family shouldn't have to pay for the way the American health insurance market is structured. But here is what history says in its entirety. There's a country where 27 million people have no health insurance at all. Even more have insurance which denies them 1 in 3 times. 60% of those denied say their illness worsened while they were waiting for approval. Medical debt is the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States. According to Health Affairs magazine, about 500,000 families file for bankruptcy each year due to medical expenses. Most of them were insured, but their insurance didn't protect them. Gallup poll: Americans rate the quality of the healthcare system at a 24-year low. Meanwhile, United Health Group posted a net profit of $22 billion in 2023. $22 billion. That's not revenue. That's profit after all expenses. So far, a third of applications have been rejected. And then there's a 26-year-old man from a wealthy family with an Ivy League degree and no financial problems whatsoever, who took a gun, boarded a bus from Atlanta, waited a week for the right moment, and shot the CEO of an insurance company. Not because his claim was denied. United Healthcare wasn't his insurer, but because he wrote it down in his notebook. It ticks all the boxes. What does this mean? There's no single answer, but here's what's certain. After the murder, the insurance company began to change faster than it had in all the previous years of lawsuits, Senate hearings, and journalistic investigations. Sometimes systems change because of words, sometimes because of laws, sometimes because of something else. The history of December 2024 doesn't answer the question of what's right. It only shows what works. And that is perhaps the most uncomfortable thing you can take away from it.